Hello everyone, Felix here. Anyways, so where do I start with this? First I guess I would like to apologize that I am in fact late. I overestimated the amount of time it would take to get my food and all that. But I'm here after a lot of unneeded stress. I am here. I am here. I am ready to stream. I am ready and willing to stream. So recently, this was when was this? What? Yeah, 4 days. A couple days, several days ago. Several days ago, Pippa decided to. Pippa was streaming Chilla's. She was doing like something like Chilla's art games, something like doing reviews on that. She didn't get to play it, but whatever. That's not important. What she did say is something that. Now Pippa's my Oshi. She is my favorite. While others in Phase Connect are in fact competing. I like Jelly a lot. I like Lumi. Pippa is still my Oshi. I don't hate her for it. I think she's free to have her opinion. But the way she said this, the way she said what she's about to say here both made me heavily disagree with her. Well, again, Pippa is no stranger to bad takes. She does this all the time. I openly disagree with her. I think she's a dumbass for a lot of them. I think she's being a dumbass on Twitter now. I still love her. She's my Oshi. This take, especially since it affects me as a writer of things that I do like to write, things I am interested in writing. And as an enjoyer and a consumer, I like to consume this kind of media. The specific kind of media she attacks here. I just Okay, stop skipping, just get into it. Just get into it. I was deeply affected by this. And I knew I had to rant about it on stream because there's no way I was gonna let her get away with it without some kind of peace of my mind. This isn't again. I don't hate Pippa. I just want to take this opportunity to rant and give a sort of rebuttal and address all of her claim because she makes some pretty good points, despite me vehemently disagreeing with her.
I hate sci-fi. She hates good settings. I hate sci-fi.
Let me lower the BGM.
I do not
Oh, damn it.
enjoy sci-fi. I don't think sci-fi is like objectively bad or anything, alright? I'm not like sci-fi content shouldn't exist just because I don't enjoy it. But I am like, if I have the option between like thing A and it's like medieval fantasy and thing B and it's sci-fi, I'm picking A. And if you say I can't pick A, then I'm not picking anything. I refuse to engage.
And I think there's a certain irony because that's how I am with a lot of medieval fantasy. To get that out of the way, I love Lord of the Rings. I love The Hobbit because they were part of my childhood. I very much enjoyed I enjoyed Tolkien's writing. Well, I didn't enjoy the Silmarillion. I tried reading the Silmarillion for a time. I couldn't get into it because it's basically an extended lore dump. And while I do like lore dumps, I didn't like the Silmarillion. I don't like in an ironic reversal of this, I genuinely do not like most medieval settings. I don't like to me the best kind of like it's not mean that doesn't mean I hate fantasy. I love fantasy. One of my best friends writes fantasy, although tends to be in a heavily urban setting. I like urban fantasy. I like low fantasy and Age of Gunpowder. Like I'm one of those spurgs who thinks like the only time warfare was interesting was like before gunpowder was like the Romans and maybe the Japanese. And I always pick archers because I think non-ranged combat can be pretty stupid and like, but I don't hate fantasy to the extent of, ooh, I'm gonna actively gonna avoid it because, well, I like I like D&D because it allows me to play. It allows me like I like D&D because I want to role play. I don't like D&D because of this. I play because I want to role play, not because of the setting. I like I would prefer something like I don't know, um World of Darkness, or even if that is rather edgy. I would like, even though like Warhammer 40K, I'm not a big fan of 40K, but I would prefer 40K over most fantasy settings if I had to roleplay in them. I get, like, again, I stated before, I like Tolkien, I like Lord of the Rings, and I like The Hobbit. Like, for as much shit as they rightfully deserve. I think the Jackson oh shit. I think the Peter Jackson Hobbit movies aren't horrible. Um and I am fully I am will oh sorry for ignoring chat. Bro, why is my chat not showing up? Pippa's quite brain dead. Bro, I'm the total opposite. I think medieval fantasy is overdone and oversaturated. I'm picking the Super Bowl over science fiction. Medieval has been so overdone, there's nowhere to go with it. Watching medieval fighting is impossibly frustrating. Me with a World War II setting active evasion. Yeah, it's like, when it comes to, like, again, I like Lord of the Rings, I like The Hobbit because they're good writing, and I might try something like The Elder Scrolls sometime along down the line. I might try Oblivion, I might try Skyrim, something like that. Hell, I might even try Daggerfall, because while I appreciate medieval fantasy settings, I really do, but that's not my niche. It's like, I'm one of those spurgs who thinks I'm one of those assholes who think like again, like Japanese and Roman warfare, like no, not Japanese, Chinese and Roman warfare are like the only interesting forms of combat before gunpowder. Before gunpowder. Well, I guess it depends. And I always like, whenever I play fantasy settings, I always pick like elf archers or rangers or bowmen of some kind, because I think non-ranged combat is like, I think non-ranged combat is stupid, and that's why I like guns so much. The bow and arrow. Well, I am a Cupid after all. I do like archery, but in those settings, the bow and arrow effectively replaces the firearm as as the ranged combat. I'm not opposed to magic in settings. I think magic, like, taking a direct role in the sort of, in the sort of leveled up isekai fantasy shit, is they make it look in. It's straight up just a massive mush pit with nothing involved. They make it look interesting because of the knights stepping into their individual stories. Roman warfare is literally build two big ass walls to do ancient sieges. Yeah, like Roman warfare was essentially literally just a precursor to medieval warfare. All in all, they had siege engines, they had all that. They had line infantry and everything. They had spears, they had swords, and that sort of thing. But in general, I guess the kind of fantasy I would be most interested in is like something like Renaissance, or like something like gothic horror, like Frankenstein, like the original Dracula, the original Wolfman, and like set in like it's still the gunpowder age, like the post-Renaissance age, but like playing into those like dark, like magic is dark, where and those elements. And I'm going to bring up a specific problem that I have with fantasy later on. And let's continue watching Pippa.
It has to be like really, really, really like heavily acclaimed, not like critically acclaimed. I'm not like, oh man, I need some fucking critics to tell me that a video game is 10 out of 10 or whatever before I'm willing to play it. But like, Stuff like Dead Space, you know.
Bows and arrows in modern settings are my absolute biggest pet peeves. Well, I made a bow and arrow in a modern setting, but but I have a secondary 1911 and a Beretta M9 as secondaries for a reason. I'm just saying, bro, warfare never changes. It really just is the same tech remade differently, and I think that's the interesting part as a military history enthusiast. It like. Well, and it's like, ooh, Fallout, war never changes. That's not what it means. But that's not what it refers to. It refers to humans, like society will inevitably engage in violence in order to prove some kind of in order to for various reasons, whether it be resources or politics. But that's not the point. Anyways, let's listen to Pippa.
That's something where it's like, okay, like this is pretty unanimous. Everybody loves Dead Space. Okay, fine.
It's funny because I don't actually care for Dead Space. I don't care for a lot of sci-fi, even if it is my favorite genre.
Sci-fi over medieval fantasy any day. I don't know why sci-fi puts me off so much. Mass Effect? Fuck no, I'm never playing Mass Effect.
I don't like as a sci-fi enthusiast, I'm not into Halo. I'm not into Mass Effect. I'm not into Star Trek. I could get interested in Star Wars. I'm gonna get into that later. While I did use Star Wars and like I referenced The Mandalorian in my thumbnail, which is a shitty thumbnail. It is. I would not consider it science fiction. It's space opera. It is science fantasy, much like Fallout. While I do not consider Fallout to be science fiction. I consider it science fantasy. I could get interested in something like that. But I'm gonna tell you, Mass Effect is a hella cool setting. I respect people who like it. It's just not my thing. I don't like Doctor Who. I don't like, I guess you could try and get me interested in something like Battlestar Galactica because I think the ships are cool. Or something like, I'm trying to think of other ones, but Battlestar Galactica, she expresses she likes Stargate, which is interesting later.
Fuck that shit. Send pizza, thank you.
Yeah, I don't like high sci-fi. Like, again, like Star Trek, Mass Effect, Halo, that sort of thing just generally doesn't interest me. I want some kind of tangible connection to Earth. I could get interested in Killzone, for example. I could get interested in, Titanfall isn't my thing, but I could get interested in Titanfall if someone introduced me to it. I don't like mechs. I used to like mechs when I was younger, because I think they were cool. I'm not really into, I could get into Killzone, I could get into Titanfall, something like that. I could get into Gears of War, that sort of thing. Not necessarily, that's the kind of settings that I'm interested in. I respect why people like Halo, I respect why people like Mass Effect. I think it's funny how the tech essentially kept being remade in just different ways, catapult, cannon, artillery, and so on, just different throwing technique of Big Boulder, yeah. Ballistas and trebuchets were different, they're very different, but they essentially just filled the same role as artillery and cannons.
Commentaries like flapjack, with flapjacks and hookers, in fact, forget the
When you say do you hate sci-fi, do you hate RoboCop, The Terminator, The Matrix, and Star Wars? The Matrix isn't necessarily my thing. I still love it though. RoboCop and Terminator, those two, which is why I have steals from the Terminator here, those two are my defining characteristic. That is what I love out of a sci-fi genre, out of a sci-fi setting. That so heavily 80s action combined with introspective, a heavy introspective on human nature, combined with this crazy new, sometimes grotesque military technology. That is what I love out of my sci-fi. That is at its core, space operas are different. Space operas are inherently different because RoboCop and Terminator are very much the original vision of sci-fi, according to Philip K. Dick. He's the one who wrote Blade Runner. I'm not into his Blade Runner as much as I guess Cyberpunk. She mentioned Cyberpunk later. he wrote a lot of he wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the precursor to Blade Runner, and Robert Heinlein, who wrote so much. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and Starship Troopers. This, like, yeah, Starship Troopers is kind of space opera because it takes place in space, but this is hardcore what I adore. This is the foundational building blocks of sci-fi. It doesn't have to be space opera. It doesn't have to be X specific. Planet of the Apes is a really good example of science fiction that I feel like of the golden age of the 60s and 50s. Not like it's all ray guns and shit, but it's actually interesting in the way that like it's gonna get into it later. It's gonna get into it later.
Commentary. I do not like thank you. When you say you hate sci-fi, do you mean you hate RoboCop, Terminator, The Matrix, and Star Trek? Is there
I don't like Star Trek. I don't gel with the
sci-fi that you do?
I think it has interesting it has interesting visuals and aesthetics. Star Trek is not my thing. The themes and the way characters are. I respect why people like it. It's not my thing. I would much prefer Star Wars to Star Trek.
Don't like space as a setting.
And that's where again I have an issue.
Something can be sci-fi and it's just like futuristic technology, and I'm a bit more okay with it.
Hold on, let me move chat to this side because like I think I'm covering up Pippa, and let me shrink down in my chair a little bit. Oops. There we go. Okay, just say.
Also, I would generally prefer to avoid it. Scared of space? I'm not scared of space.
And it's like it's because a lot of space, like I like sci-fi because it's sci-fi. It doesn't necessarily have to be space settings, although space settings I believe are very wonderful and very beautiful. I want to play Star Sector here on this channel at some point, and I absolutely adore the setting of Star Sector. It doesn't have to be, but you know.
Metal interiors of like heavy industrialization.
And this is where I very directly clash with Pippa, because this shit is what I adore. Like I have such an attachment to this sort of like heavy industrialism, heavy technology, steelpunk, like incorporated into everything and that sort of thing. This is why I brought up Terminator. This is why I bring up Cowboy Bebop. She's gonna bring up Cowboy Bebop. I wasn't able to clip her talking about it, but I love this shit so much. Oh man. Anders, I live, breathe, and die for this. I live, breathe, and die for this. In essence, it's so beautiful. Like this is the aesthetic I kill for. Where's the there we get that out of here. This sort of like spacecraft interiors, space station interiors. I bring up. Hold on. I want to find that cockpit photo again. It's past year. I know it is. I think I love Nolan's films overall because they have such a beautiful and like it's cold but it's haunting, and I love that aesthetic. Yeah, they're like the Rangers from Interstellar. They're not space fighters, but they handle and feel like them, and I adore that. I'm not into NASA punk. I'm not into NASA punk. I'm not into things like that. I'm not into, because I think NASA punk and like now punk is so heavily derivative of so many things. It doesn't have its own visual identity. You can make visual identity without like associating it with like punk or core or whatever. You know, like you can have a visual identity, but it's There's Matt Damon before The Martian. I like The Martian as a movie. I don't like The Martian's aesthetics, but I just love this. I adore this. This is my favorite kind of. People call it technology porn for good reason, and I think all that analog technology is what I live and die for. But anyways, going on with Pippa and her shit take.
Sterilize.
You like Tenet? I know, like I know in our conversation, like I know you like Tenet. I love Tenet. It's not my favorite though. My favorite Nolan is um Inception, which is I consider to be the greatest action movie of all time. I like my Bond movies, I like my Die Hards, I like my 80s action, but Inception to me feels like the greatest action movie ever made, simply from like a thematic and aesthetic standpoint. Cassette futurism is my favorite sci-fi aesthetic, I think. Yeah, cassette futurism. Cassette futurism, Atom Punk from Fallout. Fallout is kind of cassette futurism as well. Steelpunk, which is what I consider elements of Fallout, Terminator, RoboCop, and Half-Life. Oh man, like it, like you when you like if you watch me in my Half-Life Let's Play streams, you know how aware I am of like how I gush over so much over the so heavily grimy industrial aesthetic of Half-Life 1. Something that like Half-Life 2 looks pretty good, I guess. Half-Life 1 has a really beautiful visual identity, something that is raw, crude, and grungy, and I adore that. That is what I love over my in my over-the-top sci-fi settings. That is what I adore.
And almost always designed to be a critique on capitalism and
Yeah, this is where I think
progress.
she starts to make sense.
Annoy the fuck out of me. It annoys the fuck out of me, man. I get so tired.
Let's let her talk for a
of,
minute
like,
because she's
oh,
gonna.
man. Look, we're in space because people killed Earth. Isn't that fucked up? This is what's gonna happen to our environment if you keep drinking out of plastic bottles, you sick fuck. And you're like, bro, I'm gonna fucking keep using my plastic bottles, and
I will not eat the bugs. I will not eat the bugs or the soy. I will not live in a pod, well, unless it's in space. I will not drink the fluoride. I will not do that. But I still love sci-fi
use a plastic
settings.
straw just to spite you. Fuck you. Like, I mean, not really, but not all sci-fi is like that. No, not all sci-fi is like that, but it tends to be the average. Firefly? I didn't like Firefly.
I'm not familiar with the setting of Firefly as much as I should be, probably.
Because if there is something that's like, oh, look, it takes place in space, but it's not clean.
It's not. Yeah, but I like that though. I like it doesn't have to be clean. There's always some kind of unpolished section that I love about like potential like that. This is why I love Half-Life, for example.
Like,
it's not in space. Well, there's aliens involved, but it doesn't take place in space.
Pristine industrialization. Actually,
well, this is what I like out of my sci-fi. This is what I like. I follow Pave Vice. He's a really cool guy. This is what I like. This is why I brought up Interstellar. This shit is what I adore. Oh man. And like while it's not sci-fi, I do consider Girls and Panzer school ships. If you like, I'm not gonna look it up now because of like just reasons. Infinite Mirai. Hold on. I can pull it up actually. Hold on. Let me go find it. Let me go find it. Infinite Mirai. It's on WordPress. Hold on. There we go. There we go. These ones. Like, I do consider this like this. It's for the same reason I like this. Yeah, I like Girls in Panzer because of like they were all my original waifus, and I love tanks and military stuff. But the most fascinating part of it all to me are these. I wouldn't consider like these are essentially like giant spaceships or starships or colony ships that float on the water, silent running and things like that. You silent running. Hold on, let me go grab silent running. Um, let me see if I can grab silent running. Yeah, the Girls in Panzer mega boats. The Girls in Pan like yeah, this is what like like this is why I consider Girls in Panzer to be utopian science fiction. War is so like far away from their memory that like armored warfare is practiced as a high school like as a college sport like football or baseball or shit like that. Like this is and like this is why I consider it a utopian setting. There isn't visible damage to the mainland. There's no like sign of nuclear war or anything, any reason why they would have to do this. Yet they're on these like giant like environmentally friendly semi-nuclear ships that contain entire cities on them that I adore. This is like this is what I want out of a space. This is what I want out of something like where is that? Out of these. That is what I imagine in O'Neill cylinders and um O'Neill cylinders and what is it? Um like there's these specific kinds of space stations with the artificial gravity. I thought these were like kind of cringe when I was younger, but I adore them now because I love the aesthetic. And that's what I love about sci-fi. That's what I like. And like and you have concepts like these of these like utterly humongous mega structures. This is Pravda. This is the Russian, the Soviet styled one. This is the Saint Gloriana, the British styled one. And the School Ship War. Yeah, this is something else that I love like they have a chance to spurg out about all these. They're all the size of cities, and I love that. This is what I want out of space stations. But anyway, I've rambled enough. Let's listen to more Pippa.
It's like gross industrialization. It like everything's kind of like rusted and beat up, isn't it?
Yeah, but I love that, Pippa. This is why I like Half-Life. This is why I like Star Wars.
Like crazy, our main character is a rebel.
Okay, I am tired of that. I am.
Yeah.
Ooh, we have to fight. Space corpos.
Yeah. Is there a rebel? Are they gonna go around and fight like space Nazis and shit? Is that gonna be what happens here?
This is a common theme, not just for like Western sci-fi, but also with a lot of anime. To my recollection, most of like I think Macross and Gundam are like that, which gets tiring after a while. I think something I like about Killzone and like why everyone loves the Hellgast is because they are the victims. They are they're the antagonists, they're the villains, but they're also the victims. Well, yeah, like they're not necessarily edgy space Nazis, but they've been put into that situation by this oppressive federative government that you are fighting on the side of. You are working to oppress the Helgans. You're working to oppress the Hellgas. That's why I I should look more into Killzone because that's the kind of sci-fi setting I would enjoy.
Shocker.
Imagine drunk driving one of these, lol.
Easy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, some fucking alien race or the humans are setting out to genocide some other race, and you're sitting there like, I don't want to like watch this.
Which is, I guess, why I don't like Mass Effect and I don't like Halo as much. The grand scale sci-fi. It's not my thing. It's like, I prefer to look at the smaller things because, like, while Star Wars is grand scale space opera, it allows a lot of focus on smaller things like crime lords, like bounty hunting, which is why I absolutely like. I don't like Disney Star Wars. I hated the sequels. I hate a lot of their shows. But seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian really spoke to me as like as an enthusiast of that kind of fiction. And I'm gonna get into space westerns later.
Fucking boring, man.
Fugu, like that does get tiring, admittedly.
Like,
having either the humans are space Nazis or like stand-ins for aliens in that sort of vein, kind of like I guess the Covenant can be interesting. Which is why I guess I don't like Warhammer 40k as much, mostly because of the aesthetics and mostly because of like the themes of the setting aren't really my thing. I would prefer Warhammer 40k over like most medieval fantasies though.
It's just boring. I don't know how to fucking describe.
Well,
Like,
the thing is that to me, a lot of medieval fantasy is boring because you're so restricted into this like pseudo European. Like I'm not asking for I want everyone to be brown. I'm not even though I'm not white. But like I feel like you are so heavily restricted. You either get like one of two kinds of aesthetics, which is like Zelda or wannabe Lord of the Rings. Like you get fucking World of Warcraft, you get Zelda, and you get not D&D, not Tolkien. Like that is as much like you don't have that, or you don't have like those are the three main aesthetics you can get from high fantasy. You can, or I guess Game of Thrones, but I don't like Game of Thrones much either because it's fuck Game of Thrones and fuck George R.R. Martin. But you get that. You either get like I guess there's Discworld, but I don't care about Discworld that much. You get like a Zelda, which is like semi-Asian inspired relics everywhere, like muted colors and everything. You get like a World of Warcraft, which is like everything is cartoonish, everything is semi-cartoonish. Like there is some elements of modern like later technology, but it's mostly I'm disinterested in it because of the aesthetics. Like a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons either falls into LARPing as World of Warcraft or LARPing as Tolkien, which Tolkien just does it better all the time, most of the time or all the time. And then you get not Game of Thrones, which is like dingy, like The Witcher, and like dingy, less emphasis on magic. They're low fantasy, where it's all about these like asshole kingdoms and nobles and royals and shit. I'm not interested in that. That's why I don't like fantasy. And don't get me wrong, there is well-written fantasy, and I have friends who write themes like nobility, royalty, and that sort of thing really well. But Pippa is going to address something later on, and which is like all sci-fi is about capitalism bad. She's gonna bring up like
point. What exactly is wrong with it? Because it's not like I love reading the same shit over and over. You know,
well, so do I. It's just opposites of hers.
Isekai, which is just like the same few plots.
A lot of isekai and Japanese like takes on fantasy is often either wants to be Tolkien or it tends to fall into Tolkien LARP, or wants to be Tolkien but just anime. That which is like, sure, people can like that. You get some like I like it because of sexy characters, but I'm not into the setting. I'm not interested in the setting. This is why I guess I faded from watching Konosuba, which is why I can't get into like I know Frieren is a good anime. I'm not gonna get into that because I just don't like the genre.
Slightly adjusted, right?
I hate isekai. Literally anything else, please. Yeah.
But I don't enjoy it with sci-fi. I don't like the one. I don't like the couple of plots that they keep reusing over and over. It just bores the shit out of me.
Well, I don't like the ones with fantasy.
Stargate SG-1? Okay, Stargate SG-1.
Okay, Stargate and Gate from like I don't like Gate because like it's written by a Japanese nationalist, and me as a Filipino, I don't really take well to Japanese nationalism. And as an American, because we won fucking World War II, we don't take well to Japanese nationalism. But I think it's interesting because it's more than just herder loser gets set into a fantasy world. It's that it's militaries going crossing dimensions. That's the same thing with Stargate, except it's American and live action. Those are isekais I can forgive.
is
I
kind
love
of a
Skibidi
banger.
Toilet. Oh god, that's sci-fi.
Stargate SG-1. That one, I was like, all right, we're getting into like some more interesting shit here. All right, so you got like this fucking
This
portal
is a weapon
that
for
will take
terror.
you
Pulls
to
out
like all of
P90.
these different
This is a
planets,
weapon
and
for
it's
killing.
basically
Like, I love
you
that
put
shit.
in these codes, and these codes will take you to these other portals on these other planets that like some sort of like ancient civilization or something built. I don't know. That's interesting. We're kind
I
of
like
getting in.
I think precursor sci-fi gets a little too overplayed, especially with things like Halo and 40K. Like Halo, like I get tired of that kind of element. And most often, I guess one of my main gripes with space sci-fi is they don't often do aliens very well. But I do have friends who write aliens quite well, I feel. And
The like
that's part of it.
ancient futuristic technology. That's pretty interesting.
I do get like, or I guess Alien versus Predator also counts, which is I'm not interested. Like I'm not necessarily interested in that. I love Alien and I love Predator. I don't like Alien versus Predator.
Huh. Stargate skips space. I think it's because Stargate doesn't usually have space.
Plots over and over again. That's every fucking story. Yeah, every story is a rehash of a different one, just with slightly different themes and tropes and everything. Sometimes it's the exact same or in a different time. That's how that is all of literature.
In it.
Pippa.
And when they did have space,
We have been like at like 10 years after we left our caves after every like 10 years after we started leaving our caves and mating with the humans from Eden, like we've been telling the same exact story over and over and over again. That's the point of literature. Every single story has been told 10,000 years before us.
they had cool ass space Egyptians, which was like
I'm not really that kind of
that's
interested in
funny. I
that.
like that.
Hey, let's see if that plate armor is worth shit now.
Stargate SG-1 as well, where you have like these rough and tough like military guys and stuff.
Yeah, which I think is cool. I love
that
military
are
science
the bad
fiction.
Guys. I think that's another.
Yeah, I think the art, like, ooh, military is evil. I think that's like cringe. That's very cringe. It gets overused. It gets overused in a lot of settings. There is a book series. There is a young adult book series that I can wholeheartedly recommend, though, that uses a lot of these tropes. It's called Illuminae. It was supposed to become a movie some while back, because I remember Brad Pitt was supposed to produce a movie based on it, but I feel like I could direct that. I like in my film spurg, I feel like I could direct a pretty good Illuminae movie.
Thing that annoys me about like a lot of sci-fi stuff, where it's like, guys, the military's bad. Guys,
The army bad,
isn't
guns
isn't
bad,
this subversive?
military
the
bad.
People that are
Shut
supposed
up.
to be protecting the human race, actually, they're the bad guys. Isn't that crazy? What if sometimes like the military was bad, and you're sitting there like, bro, come on. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can do that. You can, but come on, like every
There has to be a point to it, and like it always tends to be. And I remember reading while Star Wars does kind of play into this, I do remember something interesting in where during the Clone Wars, like while it was intended as a kid's show, a lot of adults identified with it because it's a good show, because the Clone Wars is a good ass show. And I remember reading a snippet that a lot of veterans with families who were watching it with their kids identified so heavily with the clone army, even if they were supposed to be like the bad guys in the end because they killed the Jedi, because the clones represented them so well that they had they might be one in a million grunts, but they had personalities, lives, and aspirations of their own. They were born they all might be the exact same person, but they were all fundamentally different people. And they and for all of the pacifism that the Clone Wars promoted, it genuinely did understand a lot of the plight of the soldier and that sort of thing, which is what I appreciate.
Every fucking time, bro, stop reusing this. Why are you reusing this over and over? Yeah, Avatar, I fucking hated Avatar. Did you hate Avatar? I hated Avatar, man.
Let's see if administrative
Avatar
results posted.
is like, oh.
Yeah, I don't like fuck James again, I like James Cameron is one of my favorite directors. Fuck James Cameron. I think he's a piece of shit. Like fuck James Cameron. I hate him. I do not like James Cameron. He makes the best movie. Like, it's like Hayao Miyazaki, who makes the best damn movies you've ever seen, and they are also a piece of shit in real life. He's such an asshole. And Avatar, please let go of Terminator. Please let go of it's like with Ridley Scott, who like used to make absolute bangers, but he only makes slop now. And it's like,
this is like, here's the experience. Kenny Code, I'm not ignoring your super chat. I'm sorry, I'm like on a tangent right now. I will thank you properly in a minute. You're watching James Cameron's Avatar, right? And you're at the beginning, you're like, wow, like this is cool. This is kind of crazy, you know, like.
We ruined Earth, so we're gonna ruin another planet. You're human bad. Shut the fuck up. We are literally trying to save humanity by going to Pandora, whatever. Enough people have ranted about this already. If you want to do that, check out, like, I've done it with my friends and gotten into arguments that the Spanish model of colonization, or like the Spanish mission model of colonization, should have been used in Avatar to better connect with the Na'vi instead of the Avatar program. And it would have been cooler to have the mission in space rather than Pocahontas in space. Or Dances with Wolves in space. That would have been cooler.
7 years to get to this planet. It's so far out of the way. It's like a big commitment to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to this planet. This is
and
like.
Can I say I didn't like too much of
like,
Avatar's
right
aesthetics. I only like the machine guns,
you know,
because they look like the M60.
Committing to being on this other planet. That's an interesting.
I love Gate. My favorite fanfic of it was Boys of 85, which was still around. The humans were the good guys in Avatar. They were. They just straight up were. We were literally fighting for our own lives. Not to mention that Iwa, the goddess of the Na'vi, the goddess of the Na'vi is evil. It's straight up evil. Like it is literally brainwashing them into thinking that advancing their civilization is a bad thing, and the fact that like the Na'vi know what unobtainium is but refuse to mine it or like use it for weapons is like proof that it's proof that the Na'vi were once a successful civilization before Iwa brainwashed them all back into being primitives. They used to be an advanced civilization before they were brainwashed by their own goddess into being primitives.
Concept, you know,
and instead of viewing the Na'vi as evil, I think the proper way should be viewing the Na'vi as victims of Iwa and having the humans work to liberate them from the tyranny of Mother Nature and that sort of thing. That would have been such that would have been such an interesting subversion of themes and of everything and the role of progress. You can still have elements of humans be the bad guys, but have it be a struggle of both sides instead of this idiotic Greenpeace tree hugger shit.
Space movies, shows, a lot of space media is like, oh, you go somewhere and then you can just teleport right back. Doesn't matter, you know.
I gotta get through this clip because I'm burning time.
This is like, oh, you know, like you're really committing to going to this place. This is like, it's interesting because it makes you feel like it makes you think of like old explorers, right?
And that is what I adore about sci-fi. Not necessarily Star Trek because I feel like it's too clean and pristine, but the idea of space is an ocean and you go out to explore the unknown. I like FTL travel in some settings like Star Wars and Star Sector. A lot of sci-fi settings are better off without faster than light travel, in my opinion.
This is going to be a trip that takes like literal years, and you can't just come back. You know, you're crossing the fucking ocean, buddy. This is
off to the new world, that sort of thing.
It's a one-way fucking trip. It's interesting. You know? I'm tapping out. Sorry, James.
Yeah. Come on, get to the stuff I want to talk about. Come on, more.
James Cameron's Avatar, right? So
I'm not gonna skip around because I want to watch this entire clip for anything else I can comment on.
But it's like they still got like crazy technology. They've created the system that allows them to like clone the natives,
which I think is unethical, even if we were the good guys.
Into those bodies. That's really interesting. And then it's cool seeing. I forget his name.
She addresses
Jake is
Yeah,
like,
Jake Sully was a
he's
traitor.
normally in a wheelchair.
He's a piece of shit. I hate
and then
Jake.
he gets
I
into
hate
this
Jake Sully.
avatar body, and you see like his hair.
Yeah, they're Toast Engineer. This is the equivalent of like this is why a lot of Pippa's arguments fall flat. I feel a lot of like, oh, I don't like it aesthetically. This is the equivalent of someone saying I don't like chocolate ice cream. Then you eventually find out he's only ever eaten shit and confused it for ice cream.
And then he gets into this avatar body, and you see like his elation of being able to have this freedom, like running around, and like you feel how beautiful this new world is.
Pandora wasn't wasn't that
right?
beautiful.
Because you're experiencing,
I think I've seen
happiness.
There are like semi-fantasy settings that I feel
Like,
do
wow, this is like
lush planets and jungle planets a lot better.
This is a magical experience. And then the first 15 minutes of the movie end, and everything else is just mid.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is.
Everything else is just mid. I was like, oh, fuck.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on, Pippa, more.
The U.S. military wants to genocide the natives. All right. Fuck.
Based. Not cringe. It's actually kind of cringe, but I think we should have liberated the natives from Ewok instead of just bombing them.
I like the helicopter design.
I might be a redskin. Oh yeah, you're Native American. But oh my god, colonization was good for us. I'm a Filipino! And I got civilized with the crag, and you know what? This is some good shit, man. They gave us like roads and vaccines and shit. No, to be fair, the Spanish also did that, but they were also a little bit of an asshole, and we could have handled ourselves because we already knew what. I think we couldn't. No, the Philippines is another dictator, but that's a political discussion for another day. I can't get into that. I can't get into that. I can't get into that. No.
I'm sure there is, but I don't want to wade through all the crap that I don't like to get to it.
Which is fair.
On average, I don't enjoy sci-fi, so I'm not gonna be like, I really need to set out to watch a bunch of sci-fi stuff so I can hopefully find some stuff.
Which is fair. I'm not gonna set out to watch a lot of fantasy stuff that I don't like.
That's fair than you. It's like hating all fantasy because it's just that church is the villain. Don't judge everything from the
Okay. This is the part I wanted to get to. Okay. It's this constant like maybe it's because I'm religious, because I am religious, but even like people who aren't religious, people who are atheist, understand that using the church as church bad, Christianity bad, organized religion bad. Shut the fuck up and leave us alone. It is a direct attack. Like it is the cry of like this sort of hyper modernist, like. And I'm aware that like literature, like the church has a mixed history with fiction and literature, but like this entire concept of the practitioners of literal dark magic are always the good guys, or the church is conforming with the patriarchy. Like, shut up, please. Oh, gosh. I hate that trope in so much media. Ooh, the church bad. Even when like some of my favorite media, like the Three Musketeers, is about that. It's cringe. All right. It still made provisions because like Aramis was like gonna be a clergyman, but he had a lover and stuff like that. It understood of the time. This is what I hate the most in it's just as bad if Pippa's saying capitalism bad being an overused trope in science fiction. That is the truth. That is an overused trope. But but church bad is an overused trope in fantasy fiction, especially fiction that LARPs and tries to be so-called realistic, or like this sort of like hyper modernist. I'm sick of modernism I'm so sick of modernism being the norm for so many like historical fictions types of stories. I'm sick of it so much, and it's like it is overused. It is overused in a lot of media. There's only a few settings that directly try and portray the church as like some kind of noble force, because they always have the inquisitors as some kind of villains, or like clergy or bishops or priests as, ooh, it's a cult, whatever. it's just like me again. Maybe I am biased because I am religious in real life, but it gets so tiring. It like get something else. Have the balls to do something else. Understand that your audience is made of people who are can be made of people who are religious, and I think it's so like they try and be nuanced. There is so little nuance in that portrayal. It's so old. It's such like a common trope in so much fiction that I despise, and is even especially in like the kinds of fantasy that I'm interested in, thing like gothic horror and that sort of thing, and like gothic fantasy. That's a increasingly prevalent, which is something I don't like. I don't like that. It's so overused, and it goes into like the sort of like again, and the fantasy doesn't necessarily have to be political. Science fiction always ends up being political some kind. I'm not going to defend the author ham-fisting their bullshit views into whatever IP they write. I'm not going to defend that. But you see, like science fiction will always have that semi-political element to it because it addresses things like human nature, the rise of technology, socio-political systems, that sort of thing. And while as a pro-capitalist American, and I'm proud of that, as much as I hate the trope, I do understand a little bit of why. Do I think corpos need to be reined in a little? Yeah, but I still think corpos are the best thing to happen for society, for the production of society. Like both can be true. There can be evil corpos, but corpos as a whole have advanced human society a lot. But like that goes into ethics and morality and exploring deeper of that. But there's more you can play with that rather than oh the church is bad. And this sort of like this sort of what I dislike and why I have a very controversial author in my in here is because of like Sad Puppies and Larry Correa. I haven't read any of his books. I think he's interesting. Like one of my friends has read Monster Hunter International, which is it's like the gritty urban fantasy that I am interested in, and Sad Puppies and why I'm here, why I bring this up, is because I'm tired of fantasy is about how religion is bad. Sci-fi is about how capitalism is bad, and modern day fiction is about how you are bad. That's a thing that keeps happening. It's like this direct attack on an entire subsection of their audience. Because of this sort of I'm not gonna okay, woke is a buzzword. Would I say I don't want to throw around the term woke too much because of it is like as someone who does follow culture war stuff, it is overused. It is definitely overused, and there are the term has become so muddled that I'm not going to use it at all. But I'm tired of this sort of everything in fiction has to be progressive. Everything in the fiction has to promote progressive or post socialist themes or whatever. It's just and because so much good writing is being overlooked because the dominant collection again, if you have these views, I'm not I guess I try and understand why, and I don't hate you for having those views, but it's so biased and prevalent in both fantasy, sci-fi, and contemporary fiction that I said I don't want to get too political on this, but you can't really avoid it here because it is inherently political. There is a massive oversaturation of left-leaning themes and views in both consumer and higher art that view politics of alternative views are being selectively and deliberately being drowned out, which is why I'm here, which is why I'm on this whatever, it's unsuccessful right-wing anti-diversity. Correa brings up the fact that anti-diversity, when it is pro-diversity, diversity of thought, diversity of feeling, when he says most of the people he nominated weren't white, were actually women, because this guy Larry Correa, because of so many of his awards, because they kept being deliberately overlooked because they didn't fit into this sort of large scale mold of being like, and which is why like art with alternative political views are being deliberately drowned out because they are counterculture, and like they are a counterculture that needs to be suppressed. The counterculture is now the main culture. Like sci-fi and fantasy used to be the counterculture, now it's the main culture, and it's being exploited by this sort of this political machine that has to be twisting it into every single thing that you have. I hate that. I hate that so much. Oh my gosh. And I think this is why this is part of I've addressed that. This is why I'm trying to find it. Let me like, yeah, anyway, her reasons why instead of church bad or capitalism bad, I love writing UN automated gay space communism bad, because it is bad. It is. I will not eat the bugs. I will not drink the soy. And let me find another response that I had. Coffee. Okay, we'll listen to Pippa in the meanwhile.
Slop, read some good stuff. Bro. It's so... This shit is so annoying. It's like...
Where is that? Okay.
Why, if I don't enjoy the most common tropes of a genre...
Well, which is why I don't like a lot of fantasy.
And spend my valuable time wading through a bunch of it, hoping to find good stuff. If I stumble across the good stuff, that's fine. It's fine. Like Stargate SG-1. I enjoyed Stargate SG-1. I'm not saying all of it's bad. I'm just saying anime is bad because there's 2,000 isekai. There's not. You are making up arguments. You are putting words in my mouth. I said I understand why people enjoy sci-fi. It's just not for me. Why are you trying to be like... It's the same thing with like... You using that argument like of, anime is bad because there are 2,000 isekais. It's like, yeah, I agree with that. If somebody doesn't want to watch fucking anime because like they don't want to like wade through the fucking seas of shonen and isekai shit, well, fucking fine. I'm sure there's some anime out there that they would enjoy. But it's like... I'm not gonna be like, oh, yeah, you should... Why aren't you watching a bunch of anime to try and find stuff that you do like, bro? No, fucking...
I can't find the tweet I'm looking for.
The book of shit that's coming out is exactly that. It's exactly fucking isekai, and it's a bunch of shonen shit. So there is some stuff out there that maybe they'd enjoy.
I think the poster got deleted along the way. Whatever. I was gonna use it as demonstration, but it doesn't matter now. I already made my point.
If they don't already enjoy anime. I know that sounds fucking insane, but like anime is like a very specific genre.
Oh hey Cielo.
Well, it's specific.
Pippa thinks her taste in media is same with her hating and Minecraft music. We just like seeing shiny things go pew pew. It's not that complicated. Yeah, I love Minecraft music.
8% of the shit in that medium.
It's just like she. This is another one of Pippa's bad takes, but I am seeing where she's coming from.
The bulk of anime is the same.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you so much for the $100. Thank you. You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land.
We have 5 more minutes. Yeah, we have 5 more minutes in this clip, and I'm gonna explore something else that she says.
I've never seen the Twilight Zone. I know there was the movie that was like a set of 4 anthologies or something like that. And
yeah,
one of them, 2 children.
I've watched some elements of the Twilight Zone for English class, and I thank my English teacher for it because I love those. But I don't like pay major attention to them.
They got hit by a fucking crashed helicopter. Really, it's
Come
Dave
on.
Lars. Thank you. I agree sci-fi is lame and aesthetically unappealing. I had a D&D
Oh,
DM
shut
trying to
up.
make human/capitalism bad, go to space campaign. He kept saying the
But
America,
humans and capitalism bad, it is very
so
overused.
much it is,
And it's
man.
fundamentally wrong as well.
So
It's
much
just,
of
I hate it.
is. Like Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I enjoy
Okay,
that.
she's talking about
And even
cyberpunk.
that is the same, like, capitalism bad.
And I feel like,
The further development of human
I
society.
think cyber prep, or is that? Cyber prep.
Industrialization bad. Everything's bad. Everything's bad. You're like, I don't know if it is or isn't, but also like I don't really want to I don't.
I feel like there's so much that could come out of an idealized cyberpunk setting, so much more than just merely capitalism bad or X or whatever. I think it would be interesting. Well, I mean, a lot of the advances of cyberpunk could only be achieved via capitalism, but I think it would be interesting for, like, I guess an interesting subversion of the trope for it to occur in a communist or a fascist state, and like a confrontation that socialist ideas like would be like inherently restrictive kind of freedom that this kind of technology affords.
I'm not interested in exploring these
Cyberpunk.
ideas.
Both the aesthetic. Well, cyberpunk as an aesthetic versus cyberpunk as a franchise. Like Cyberpunk 2077 versus things inspired by cyberpunk, like Blade Runner and such. And tech noir. Hold on, where's tech noir?
Well, it was easy. Thank you. Warhammer 40k, the Imperium of Man isn't exactly good, but every other faction is absolutely sucks. So they're good by default. It's not supposed to be a criticism. Humanity is just the best it can be. Idiot Carrot, thank you. Edge Runner wasn't capitalism bad. It was poor is bad.
Tag poor is bad.
I think the Cyberpunk Edge Runner.
There it is. Hold on. We'll get into that later on.
Was
Come on.
unchecked capitalism taken to this extent is bad.
Or if you want to be funny, Japanese corporations bad. Specifically Japanese corporations.
Everything costs money. You know, like, oh, you don't have enough money
We
to pay for
stand
the
milli
ambulance.
tech
Well,
in
then
this
they're just not
house.
gonna take care of
I
you.
should play Cyberpunk.
Like, you're not even going into debt. They just don't want to take care of you. Oh, you don't have enough money for your washing machine that's in your own home?
That I don't like either. That is a valid criticism.
You can't even use it. It's like,
because companies do that in real life, which is unfortunate.
You have to look for good media. Yes, look, good things will not just fall into your open hands. It's not due to
Which
the
is, I
genre
guess,
being all
what I
bad.
should do with fantasy.
I don't like the genre. I don't want to look.
I don't like. You know what never gets any love? Dieselpunk. I fucking love Dieselpunk. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a rant for. You know what? I'm gonna have this rant now. Dieselpunk as an aesthetic is just beautifully underrated. It is next to Atom Punk and Cassette Futurism as possibly one of my favorite aesthetics. That sort of like World War One, like interwar World War II-esque. That style of heavy industrialism and everything like The Rocketeer, Captain America 1, Captain America the First Avenger, that is so, beautifully Dieselpunk. Even though Star Wars is supposed to be the space opera, I would consider it Dieselpunk as well in terms of the weapons, and so many other things about it. It is so beautiful, and there's a derivative of it called Steelpunk that I really adore as well. Big machines pouring out black, acrid, toxic smoke, and there's so much beauty in that. I need to look. I need to find some good.
I can't believe.
Some good Dieselpunk aesthetics that I love that aesthetic. Oh man.
It's not all bad. You guys have to go and look for good villainous
check out I don't think it's capitalism bad necessarily. Check out a video by Pilgrim Pass on what kind of cyberpunk you're heading for.
Have to fucking read villainous isekai
you know what? You know what? No one ever airship farbs about. We had airships in the Navy until the late 50s. I like the idea of airships. I really do. But as an aviation enthusiast, I don't think that'd be the most practical. I've used them in modern warfare settings, which wasn't necessarily right, because I like an airship with battleship guns, but it doesn't necessarily work in that context. But that is cool. That is really cool. Airship and like big airships and zeppelins are a hallmark of diesel punk that I adore so much. There's this particular art of like, I don't know.
Your passions.
I like BioShock. Like, I want to play BioShock at some point. I like you guys know I already love Fallout.
No sci-fi.
I love that. Fuck off,
I
Pippa.
love you thinking. Jokes on you. I love slop like that. Oh my god. Eat it, Pippa.
Force feed it to her. Come on.
Narrow
Talk
interest
more.
is not equal broad interest. I would say sci-fi is a pretty narrow interest.
It's not. Okay. She makes her worst take at the very end. It is sci-fi is the broadest like fantasy is what like oh. Let's hear it again for double measure.
I mean, interest. I would say sci-fi is a pretty narrow interest. I mean,
this isn't merely me having a rebuttal of why I like this, or she has a point, but here I would like to see this improved. She is straight up wrong. WRONG wrong here. Science fiction is perhaps one of the most expansive genres in all of fiction, and she doesn't understand. While I do it, like, it so heavily intersects with elements of fantasy that there isn't even such a thing as sci-fi aesthetic. It's only the stereotypical sci-fi as from the 50s. It evolves with you because fantasy is unique, because fantasy is it's fixed. It doesn't have not necessarily fixed, but it can take any place, any time in the past. Science fiction evolves with humanity. It is more than merely speculative fiction. It is imagining like attempts at hard sci-fi are direct imaginings of the kinds of issues and problems and sort of what has improved, what has become worse in the future of the humanity is going to face. It is fundamentally about our human relationships with technology, human relationships with themselves, with our place in the world, with our own belief, with things like that. That is science fiction. And while a lot of the things that I do like are technically more into science fantasy, like namely Fallout, a lot of it still has while it has fantastical elements, it still is willing to explore serious themes just as the reflection of human nature. And that is why I like science fiction. This is post-apocalyptic fiction. It doesn't have to be space. It doesn't have to be cyberpunk. It doesn't have to be this sort of everything, or it's all of it combined. That is a reflection. It's humanity looking at a mirror a few seconds into the future of a future that we might have. A lot of sci-fi has predicted things that we have created in our past. Like Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. It's more than just the book burning novel. It predicted the rise of juvenile delinquency in people, the sort of social callousness of society, and the sort of commoditization of liberal views, and the sort of rejection of old literature. It went down to the advent of inventing the entire job of paramedics and the concept of headphones and earbuds. He mentioned it via seashells. That is it is possibly I don't want to take away from fantasy. Does Factorio count as diesel punk? I'm not sure. N-Class was retired in 1962. The U.S. Navy Zeppelins. There isn't such a thing. Yeah, sci-fi is a third of modern media. 1984 sci-fi in the way. Techno thrillers and social and political thrillers that reflect the time in the future are, in fact, science fiction. There is social science fiction. There is techno thrillers. There's military science fiction, which is like Starship Troopers. It is such an expansive genre, and I would argue like while I adore the role of fantasy and because it has an important place in society, science fiction is possibly the most important form of fiction to humanity because it's going to like, and there's like even like, because I do mention I am religious, there even are religious sci-fi elements. Like, I wouldn't say 40K, but my friend is writing one. A Canticle for Leibowitz is one. It's like it's all social and an exploration of like, science fiction is fundamentally an exploration of what humanity will be like in the future, and a lot of things have been predicted in that sort of way. And that is like, to label it so narrow and so like callously, Pippa just like this is why I fundamentally disagree on her with that part, because it does, like, that's not what it is. She fundamentally doesn't understand it. And the same thing with a lot of other phase members. If you're familiar with Lumi, hold on. Ugh. Okay, we'll look at that next.
You can get like very broad with it, like, oh, sci-fi is everything from The Matrix to James Cameron's Avatar to Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, why Dune isn't sci-fi explained by an engineer.
Like, completely opposed.
I'll
to
look
it.
at that if
Like,
we have time.
it is a red flag to me.
It is a red flag to you. It's Pilgrim Pass. Why is sci-fi so religious? Because I think exploring the kind of relationships humans have with God in a realm of time where humans and technology have effectively replaced God, or the state has effectively replaced God, that is going to be that is certainly interesting to as an examination to look at. Which is why I like the exploration of the exploration of religion in like Canticle for Leibowitz to some extent in Fallout 3, in Fallout New Vegas's Honest Hearts. That is like in the why, like, while I do consider the setting to be closer to fantasy, a lot of its themes are reflective of science fiction in a serious manner. It doesn't have to be parody. It is a reflection of how people might act. Like, this is why post-apocalyptic fiction is still science fiction, because it is an exploration of humanity in a future that could exist.
That sounds interesting. Mate, thank you.
The grim darkness of the 21st century. Women get to subject thousands of people to their opinions.
New anime of an old Salaryman reincarnated as the villainess. I have not.
We're gonna.
You're cute when we argue with you. What the fuck?
Anyways, that's the end of my clip. This is lower. This is okay. We're gonna look at the parts that I wasn't able to clip. Hold on. I'm gonna take away chat here. There, her chat, not mine.
Oh, like this is like they're gonna have a hard time enjoying anime if they.
Okay.
I'm trying to make human/capitalism.
Oh.
And so the bulk of what? Oh,
come on.
You don't have enough money for your washing. Look bad.
Okay, come on. Where are we?
I would say sci-fi is a sci-fi.
Yeah,
is.
shit take. Come on.
Best Sensei.
Okay.
Oh my god, it's like the most broad genre.
It is. It is the most broad genre. It is one of the most, like, fantasy is a broader genre and encompasses more, but sci-fi is a dramatically very wide genre of fiction. Come on.
I'm gonna take a Funko Pop of a Xenomorph and put it in the fucking microwave.
Come on. Where's the part that she
toy into the It is a web novel. Hell yeah. Made that mistake. I already made that interesting. It's not interesting at all. Interesting to you, Pippa? The only story I read is a web novel. Hell yeah. Rex, I think you space westerns might be interesting to you, Pippa.
Here we go. Okay, here it is.
Not.
Space westerns are okay.
I made that mistake.
Let's hear it.
I already made that mistake. Oh wow. Space western, huh? That could be no, it's not interesting.
Because I know Pippa loves the western, and I do too.
It's not interesting at all. Space western.
And so yeah, I guess fantasy peels off the materialistic surface of human experience to look underneath and contemplate eternal truths, while sci-fi contemplates on the human relation of the material. Yeah! Which is why it's so intertwined that they're both in the realm of speculative fiction. They're explorations of humanity in different ways, and sci-fi fantasy does both. Which is yeah,
Are made by people who do not like westerns.
that is incorrect.
Space westerns are made by people who fucking hate westerns.
That is revisionist western, Pippa, and even some revisionist westerns, such as High Plains Drifter, are really good. I'm still gonna address it with that.
What if I do like a more interesting parody of a genre that I hate?
It's not a parody.
Like every space western.
Okay, this is where I discuss why I picked The Mandalorian. Again, a lot of Disney Star Wars is shit. Mandalorian season 1 and 2 is peak. It's fucking great. I love it. I love The Mandalorian. And it's not because it understands what a space western is. It doesn't try and subvert it. It just is one. It just directly is one. That's what The Mandalorian is. He's gonna mention Cowboy Bebop later on. Where is that? Space western. Yeah, the space western. You had a critical acclaim for Firefly. A Wagon Train to the Stars, Serenity, space operas like a Star Wars film series. Trigun, yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Trigun. Borderlands, I don't like Borderlands. StarCraft, The Outer Worlds, I don't like The Outer Worlds. Cowboy Bebop, she's gonna mention that in a second. Outlaw Star, that is interesting. Brave Star in the Galaxy science fiction, because I love the idea of the space western because it expands, because I like the western is one of my favorite genres of fiction. Overall, modern era westerns are shit. Revisionist westerns are goated. Classic westerns are goated. Space westerns are 50-50 but still goated. Modern westerns are shit. Okay, but have you considered Sicario as one? Sicario is a western. Sicario is fundamentally a western. Breaking Bad is a neo-western. Sicario and Breaking Bad are still considered westerns because it's a reflection of the loss of to me. A western doesn't necessarily mean it has to be American, like it has to be like the Old West. A western is about the frontier, about like a kind of a setting where the loss of authority, like where there is human activity with a loss or a fundamental lack of authority, and the steps people will take in order to and the steps people will take depending on their situation and what they do with this lack of authority, what they do with the barren landscape sometimes. That is why I still consider Breaking Bad and Sicario to be westerns, because they are about the loss of authority in a certain specific place and time.
What is wrong with people?
The western is a sort of fantasy too. Yeah, it is, because it's a bygone era. It's less the aesthetic, more of the reflection on how humanity behaves at the edges of civilization. You could have a modern day western based on a favela. Yeah, I think that could be. Yeah, I think that's true. Like I said, it's based on the loss of authority in an area. It doesn't have to be in the West. There are Soviet Osterns where Soviets and Russians explore the Middle East. That is an actual genre, the Ostern. White Son of the Desert. Well, let me go find it. What? Where is that? White Son of the Desert. It's funny because we're talking about sci-fi. Hold on, where is it? White Son of the Desert. It's a 1970. It's a Soviet movie. It's very interesting. White Son of the Desert. Please work. No, it's not working. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Oh, I might have to clear that out a little bit for a split second. White Son of the Desert. White Son of the Desert. It's an Ostern. It takes place in the Middle East. It's about Soviet officers in the Middle East, and where they instead of Native Americans, they're encountering like Muslim tribes, and the funny part about this movie, this film, like connected to sci-fi, this film is watched by Russian cosmonauts before most space launches as a good luck ritual, and I find that so beautifully fascinating. Anyways, let's hear more of Pippa's bad takes.
No, Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop is the only one that gets a pass.
Okay. I'm gonna say an opinion that has been regurgitated by everyone. Everyone that is born before me knows what Cowboy Bebop is. It is my favorite anime. It is no, more than that. It is my favorite TV show of all time. And I get why other people like it. I'm like, maybe I think I like it for different reasons. Because a lot of people like it because of superficial details and not the exploration of character and the unique aesthetics that come with it. For example, I do not trust Neil Druckmann when he says, I like Cowboy Bebop, and this inspired my new game, Intergalactic The Heretic. I just, shut the fuck up. Okay. Okay. It is fundamentally, Cowboy Bebop is what I consider a tech noir. It is what I consider fundamentally a tech noir. It is a noir rather than it is a noir. Oh, let me lower the volume. It is a noir. I didn't watch it. Yo, Felix paused the stream. I got a shit. I only watched the AMVs with old Brazilian music. You can take your phone with you, terrible artists. But anyways, so Cowboy Bebop fundamentally, it is a noir. It is a tech noir. It is a sci-fi noir. It has Western elements. It has Western tropes in it. It is a noir. It is not a Western. Despite it's called Cowboy and it has cowboys in it. It has westerns and deserts in it. It is not a Western. It is fundamentally a noir. It is, if you've seen this, these are like noir tropes from the 70s, which is what I absolutely adore. It is a neo-noir. It is a noir film. And noirs are one of my favorite genres of fiction. But anyways, so that's sensitive. I shouldn't have clicked there. Yeah, oh yeah, it's a noir, that makes sense. Anyways, so
Cowboy Bebop is the only one that. Okay, Trigun. Okay, well, Trigun.
Let's see if I can finish this because I might have to end soon.
Western. I'd classify Trigun.
Yeah, Trigun is more of a space western than.
We are counting it,
and The Mandalorian is a true space western. It is not a
Trigun. What about Outlaw Star? I've never seen that one. Echo is different though. It had an impressive atmosphere like Silent Hill. Is what all.
Anyways, I think I'll end off on I can't stick around for much longer because someone came home. But I think what I find dreadfully interesting is what I want to explore is metamodernism in fiction. I'm not gonna give like as strongly an element for what it all is. I need more noir placed in the skip list. Terrible artists, you have shit taste. I'm sorry, you don't have good taste. You need to watch more noir movies. You need to smoke that cigar and put that Colt Cobra in your waistband and chase some gangsters. But yeah, metamodernism and like this is a genre that I feel should be largely replacing modernism. While I do consider myself, I guess, pretty liberal in politics and outlook, modernism is one that I just genuinely dislike because of this sort of critical element and like sort of self-referential everything. I am anti-deconstruction. This is reconstructionism, and I am pro-reconstruction of characters. I'm tired of things or institutions or settings or tropes being broken down. I am interested in their incorporation in new ways of older tropes in newer fiction. That is what I like to hear. That is what I want to see. I learned about this term from learning from Top Gun Maverick, and it's and this sort of example of metamodernism. I don't like that architecture, but in terms of like the so many elements of this is, yeah, meta everything everywhere all at once. I am anti-absurdist. I'm not pro-absurdism. But although it is absurdism, I did watch this movie in theaters and it is beautiful. I love this movie. But it is meta-modernist. It is anti like postmodernism or anti-modernism is a sort of outlook in fiction that I feel should be explored more deeply, of taking the genre genuinely, and like taking fiction at its instead of being an inherent deconstruction. There are still genres of fiction that I do feel do need deconstruction, such as like the typical romance novel or the young adult dystopian novel. I am doing a rant about that at sometime else. That is possibly, but a lot of other ones need to be reconstructed, like the kinds of things we like. The adventure story is what I feel it should be at the forefront of the meta modernist. Yet return. I'm sorry, but Super Bowl, Black Hawk Down, Gunsmoke, Olive Noir. I think you can eat shit. I think you can eat shit. Noir films I recommend. He is noir. He is a noir. What is it? Another one. It's a Hitchcock. North by Northwest is a noir, and the general aesthetic I just adore. Pulp noir, as well. Like I couldn't go through that entire movie. Which one? Which one, Cielo Jose? Which one? Which movie? Heat? Because I've done a rant about Heat, and I love it. I love that movie. It is so beautiful. It is beautiful beyond words. But yeah, I like noir. I like noir as a genre, and I don't think we'll have enough time to explore. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna bank on it. This is gonna be my last. This is gonna be my
Really fun.
Let me lower the volume. This is gonna be my last section that I'm gonna talk about.
Space suit. Whoa.
She's so hot.
It's me. Film me.
Oh, Black Hawk Down. Black Hawk Down's a good movie.
Sci-fi is a very dry genre because the scale is way too big. Unfortunately,
Umi doesn't understand what science fiction is either.
I think
I can tell.
the most interesting things in a good, like, what makes a really good story is usually smaller details, like interpersonal, like relationships, that kind of thing.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, when it's like space stuff,
This is 12 minutes long. I'm gonna have to end off here, guys. Otsu love. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Terrible Artist. Thank you, Thompson Express. Thank you, Backslash. Thank you, Cielo Jose and Dance Yock Fanboy. This is one of my favorite streams that I've done, and I do appreciate it. I'm not gonna be able to finish reacting to Lumi and her shit take on sci-fi, but I appreciate you all for coming. I really do. This has been Felix Valenti signing off. Let's find someone to raid. Of the Everything Everywhere All at Once. I like that movie. It was a good movie. Let's go into subscriptions. Let's find someone to raid. Neo's still streaming, so let's go into Neo. Let's go to Neo. Otsu love. Yeah, thank you guys. Manual raid. Oh, my cursor is gone.